Hello, classmates of my senior class. Um, this is Jalen Tamaleaa speaking, and
Rimoni.
today we will be discussing same-sex marriage. Now, before we get into this, I would like to begin by starting off with a word of prayer. So if you all bow your heads with me. At this time, actually, you guys can pause the video and take prayer requests. So I'll go ahead and let you do that. Okay. So please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I want to thank you so much for this day. I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak to the seniors. I ask that you give us wisdom, help us to have open hearts and open minds. In your name, amen. So, to begin with worship, I wanted to talk about 5 steps of logic that point to the truth that God is, or in other words, that God exists. So, this is the question: what do we see? What do we see around us in our lives, in everything, kind of? So, many people, if they look at it, they see order. Now, order does not happen on its own. In order for order to occur, that means there has to be an idea or concept and an energy or work. So that means something has to think of an idea and put forth the energy, to make order happen. Now, there was a Greek philosopher named Anthem, and he said, "Ex nihilo nihil fit." The translation of that is out of nothing, nothing comes. So if you think about that, so out of nothing, nothing comes. So that means if you had nothing, that means that nothing would come from that. So if we look at our human race, or anything, that means that there had to be something in order for there to be something today. So if you look, it says if there was ever a time when there was nothing, then nothing would be. So the P represents the present, and like eternal forwards and eternal backwards. So that means that there had to have been something there. Now this something, it has to be an eternal thing or being. Yeah. So one way to look at this is if you work a creative thing back, it will eventually lead to its creator. This something, according to ex nihilo nihil fit, had to be something eternal that made the created things. So there had to be something eternal in order for our existence, as we know, because if there was nothing, then nothing would be. So there had to be something in order for us to be in existence. This eternal thing had to be a being or person, because only then a being or person can create order. So this being or person needs a mind with higher faculties to contemplate things and put forth the effort. In other words, it has to, create order. In Exodus 3:14, God states, "I am who I am." He is who He is. He is what is to come, what is and will be. He is the beginning and the end. Yeah. So I wanted to share this with you guys because I wanted everyone to know, that God does exist. And, it's not, I don't know, some of you may not think it's so important, but God does love each and every one of us. And I wanted to use this as a worship thought, not only for worship, but so that I can reference to it, so that we can have a biblical standpoint, that God is reality, so that you guys know that that's what we need to base our moral standards off of. So Ryan, you want to have prayer first?
Yeah. All right, everybody, bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for this day, and that we can be here in Bible class learning about you. And please be with everyone's prayer requests, and thank you for all the blessings you've given to us, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Half of those with SSA, or same-sex attraction, move towards heterosexuality over a lifetime. Very interesting fact there. Most changes in sexuality are towards heterosexuality. Ex-gays outnumber actual gays. There are more than 8 million adults that are a part of the LGBT community. LGBT stands for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transvestites.
Facts about adolescence. In the 16 to 17-year-old age group, 98% will move from bisexuality to homosexuality to heterosexuality. 6 in 10 LGBT students report feeling unsafe at school because of their sexual orientation. 80% of gay and lesbian youth report severe social isolation. GLBTQ, or gay, lesbian, bisexual, transvestite, or those in questioning of their sexuality, youth of color report feeling pressure to choose between their ethnic and their sexual identities. These youth are less likely to be involved in gay social and cultural activities than their white counterparts.
It's very important to, to consider these kids or even these adults' feelings, but we shouldn't base everything off of feelings. There comes a time when we need to discern what's right and what is wrong. Same-sex marriage is illegal in all 50 states.
One Incorporated versus Olson in 1958. The U.S. Post Office and the FBI deemed One, the Homosexual magazine, a lesbian, gay, and bisexual publication, obscene, and as such could not be delivered via U.S. mail. The publishers of the magazine sued and lost both the first case and the appeal. The Supreme Court accepted the case and reversed it, marking the first time the Supreme Court ruled in favor of homosexuals.
Interesting. Very interesting. I was once told, that by a historian that once society or once homosexuality becomes, normalcy and all that stuff, their dynasty collapses. So maybe this is a sign that United States of America is going to no longer be a superpower. Boy Scouts of America versus Dale, 2000. This is a court case, just so you guys know. And in another setback to the gay rights movement, the court ruled a 5-4 decision that the Boy Scouts of America have a constitutional right to ban gays because the organization's opposition to homosexuality as part of its expressive message. Very interesting. I'm sure many of you have questions about this. You guys can discuss that if you want right now, or you can wait till later.
The pros of same-sex marriage. The first pro of same-sex marriage is the freedom of choice. And the second, is revenue for states, and third is equality. The freedom of choice gives the LGBT community the option, to exercise their rights, which is a American privilege. And for the states, it brings in revenue because of all the marriages between the LGBT community, which would not have been if it was not legalized. And equality, it gives the LGBT community a sense of equality, knowing that they are now held. Excuse my cough. They're now held under the same view as heterosexuals in marriage.
When looking at a topic, you may discuss pros, and there is also cons. So a con of this is demoralization of humanity. I was reading a couple articles about this, and by legalizing same-sex marriage, it turns a moral wrong into a civil right, which I don't think is what we should be doing. Also, I was reading an article, and same-sex marriage is not necessarily marriage. Marriage is between a man and wife, which, if you look at the definition, it actually says it's between a man and wife. So it can fog the idea of that. Also, it potentially stunts growth of kids. God intended for the household to be filled with a mom and a dad. There's some things that a mom can do that a dad just can't do, and vice versa. What does the Bible say about this topic? Well, in 1 Corinthians 6:18, it says, "Flee from sexual immorality. Every other sin a person commits is outside the body, but the sexually immoral person sins against his own body." It's very clear. It says, "Flee from sexual immorality." So that's not only talking about like gay sex or anything like that. It's talking about sex in general, like outside of wedlock and stuff like that. But we need to keep that in mind as well. 1 Corinthians 10:13, it says, "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it." I put this verse in here because I believe many people feel that once they feel a certain way that they have to follow that. I think sin has deluded our minds to think that, if I feel this way, I have to do that, but we shouldn't be functioning by our feelings. We should be functioning by God's principles. And so I really like that. So I think the Bible is very clear on this. It says in Leviticus that, that is an abomination to be homosexual and stuff like that. But I didn't want to put that in there because I know some of you guys have heard that, once Jesus died, the old law died with him and stuff like that. So these are verses from the New Testament that you guys can chew on.
Our duty. The greatest wine of the world is the wine of men. Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. Men who will stand for the right, though the heavens fall.
That was a quote by Ellen White, just so you guys know. I apologize about the line through this verse. It's supposed to be just above it. I apologize for that. But in Romans, God says to not judge by appearances. But if we judge, we must then judge properly. We talked about this in class as well. But our duty as Christians is to spread the word of the Lord, and many people, they, when someone tries to call sin by its right name, everyone says, "Oh, stop judging me" and stuff like that. But we are messengers of the law. We shouldn't be condemning anyone. That's the Lord's job. But we should be calling sin by its right name. And like it says we are messengers of the good word. We are also not to be condemning, just simply relay the message. And we're supposed to love everyone.
Anal sex. Now, some points on anal sex and the dangers with it. This first one. Penetration can.
We had to put this slide in here because this is a serious thing between two gay guys. Anal sex, it's not healthy, and I want you guys to know that. Penetration can rip tissues in the anus without proper lubrication. So this literally, this act can literally cause damage to your anus. You guys can read these as well. This is not healthy at all. It may feel good, but is not healthy, and I want you guys to know that. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry. We got to go back, but because I don't know if any. Okay, well, our sphincters are muscles that are meant to hold in feces. Anal sex can cause your sphincter to loosen and not hold in your feces as well or at all. This is a very unfortunate thing. Yeah. Also, the anus is full of bacteria. It is not an exit. It is an exit, not an entrance. We're referring to your anus. I don't think God intended for a male reproductive organ to go inside that area. But our society has been really demoralized, and I think we're bringing things that don't need to be normal, and we're making them normal. So here are some topics of discussion. You guys can work along these. I'm sorry we couldn't be here with you guys, but we want to thank you for taking the time to listening to us. So God bless.